All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so I hope an hour, it feels like a good amount of time, and we'll just see how this unfolds. You got my email yesterday about some of the things I'm thinking about. I think it was yesterday, or for you,
Yesterday?
maybe early this morning.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Well, I'll start there
Doesn't
then.
matter. Yeah, you can convey to me.
Yeah. So I have two sort of purposes that overlap significantly in getting together with you. One is, and the more important for us today, is to celebrate Roong Aroon and just mark this 25th anniversary, allow you to tell the story a little bit of the school, and for me to tell the world through the journal. So that's that's the more important part. In the back of my mind, though, is my own study, my doctoral dissertation, which is emerging as likely to focus on school leaders internationally, and how they, you, we are able to sort of have our pedagogy infused throughout our schools. So that's, if we have some time today to talk a little bit more about you as a school leader, founder, that's great. If not, we'll follow up another time if that's of interest to you.
Right.
But anyway, I guess I'd love to just start with a personal connection between you and I, and just note, or I'll call to your attention, that we've traveled some similar paths, and maybe we notice how we come to know one another, and you know, so just as a point of beginning. So I don't know how aware you are, but I am also a teacher first, and a parent. We share that, and a school starter. So my journey started in elementary education, so younger children, and I was working in state-run schools, public schools, publicly funded schools, and became very disenchanted with the nature of my work, and moved to a beautiful place with the idea that I was done teaching and in the field of education, only to discover that it wasn't done with me. So through my own child, who had some friends and had some you know, learning differences. His issues were not autism, but they were anxiety related. And through his eyes and heart, I came to understand and appreciate how so much of what we do in schooling doesn't benefit everyone. And I kind of realized reluctantly the arrogance with which I had been teaching, and the sort of lack of compassion and deep understanding for both children and their struggles and their reality, and the people who love them, their parents. So 21 years ago, in my case, founded a school. Somewhere along that journey, I became more aware of holistic education, and went back to graduate school to study pedagogy and learning theory and so on and so on. And that has unfolded to connect me with the holistic ed community in North America, and now happily beyond North America. So, so we share a few things, and
Yeah.
I was curious to know, I think I first saw you, and I don't know if we spoke, probably at the first
In
conference
Oregon.
in Ashland.
In
Yes,
Oregon.
in Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And I remember you at that time. That you gave me a leaflet of some message that you created
Yes.
for some kind of recommendations.
Yep, that's correct. And that
that's very, very impressive. And I just keep that with me.
Yeah, that was a document that I wrote the introduction for. The document was much older and was written by others. As kind of, it was sort of a, I don't know, coming out to the world, recommendations for making education more humane and holistic. And yes, I was honored to be asked to write the new introduction for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's really lovely. Yeah.
And how did you come to be invited to that conference in Oregon, and where, at what point did you intersect with Jack and William and that group?
We met each other in Bhutan.
Okay.
Yeah. Dr. Powder also.
Right.
At that time, Bhutan had a big project of GNH in education, cross-national happiness in education. Yeah, and they set up a very international conference. So we were invited there, and we share many ideas and experience in workshops, many activities. So I met Jack there, and I told him that this is not coincidence. To meet each other in a very special place, in a very special circumstance and occasions. So we may, met each other from our past life.
Yes.
And we have to do this burden together at this life. Yeah. And Jack just agree with that.
Yes.
And Yoshi also. Yoshi. So after that conference, a few years later, Yoshi just organized the round table meeting among us in Asia and Pacific participants in the title of holistic education. Yeah, and he tried to do that, and then we visit Professor Wong Ping Ho in Taiwan.
Okay.
In Hong Kong.
Okay.
Yes. And Yoshi joined us, and we just have a agreement that we should have put our hands together and created the strong commitment to further share our experiences and knowledge and all kinds of new movement and everything. at least 2 years, every 2 years. So we have done that, and Thailand offered to be the host in the beginning. So we have this kind of connection right after.
And Jack and maybe others from North America have been able to travel and join some of those gatherings.
Yes, most every time Jack. He's very, strong commitment.
Yes. Yeah, he's been prolific. He writes so much and beautifully, and has been at it for a long time. 1988, when he wrote the holistic curriculum, and so many people have studied by his side, and yeah, he's been very important in the movement here for sure. And Ron, I don't know if he is widely known anymore, but on the journal's advisory committee, Ron Miller was my mentor in holistic education. And he was very important early on, late 1980s through the 1990s. He published 7 or 8 books on holistic education, and he founded the original journal, the Holistic Education Review, and he funded many projects, including starting schools and scholarly publishing house press, and he eventually became somewhat, I don't know, disenchanted with the movement, with the mission of changing education. He came to feel that social change happened in a different way, that it wasn't led from the front, but it emerged in a self-organizing method. And he was disappointed that the amazing scholarship and wonderful creative ideas hadn't been considered even by the bureaucratic mainstream education. And he, at the same time, was feeling quite pessimistic, I think, about the human prospect, what our future is as a people. So he left the field, and I was so happy to nudge him back in through
you should do that. We still have hope.
Yes, I know. You must, I feel. Anyway, all right, let's jump in. So again, thank you so much, Prapapat, for your time today. And
I have to thank you. I have to thank you too. That gives me this kind of special opportunity.
Yes. Let's begin. Your writing was beautiful, and I have it all, and it will become part of what I transcribe. But I felt one thing that I wished more from you about is the feeling of Roong Aroon School. Particularly, try this as an experiment. Imagine you were a child, perhaps in the kindergarten, and you are entering the school on a school day. What is it like? What do you notice? What do you see and feel? What do you look forward to during your day? If you could give me a little texture, through the eyes of a child.
You like me to reflect my feeling, my emotion with the school.
Yeah, particularly as
a child.
Yeah, as someone, and it does, if that's difficult, doesn't have to be 5-year-old, but how does it feel to
Yeah.
be there? What might you see?
Yeah. You have to understand my my background in when I was a child, and I didn't I didn't pay much pay much attention with the learning the subjects, but play is my play all days.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the great thing that I had in my childhood. I play every day. So if I enter Roong Aroon, every places, every corners, invite me to play.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very encouraging me to come to school.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt. I wanted this to be your words, but we as an adult society are so obsessed with school as the training for work instead of allowing it to be the place of natural emergent joy and play. And this is, I think this is when students can fall in love with learning, with one another, with their teachers, and we spoil it for them.
Yeah, we avoid this from children, and when children play, they learn most.
Yes,
they learn best, and they learn as much as they love. So this is very important to me, to go to school to play with everything, with friends, with every animals in the school. That's a big thing for children.
Yes. Are there animals at your school at Roong Aroon?
Oh, a lot of. Yeah, we have a big pond, so that's invite several species of birds, and the alligator. Yeah, and children just they never be afraid of these animals, and they remember which one the specific habit of each animal. They give them the names.
Yes, right.
Every animal has name.
Yeah.
And a flock of goose, geese. We have it. Then they love to take care of these animals. A lot of insects and everything.
Yeah, it is really interesting the way in which animals for humans can be the gateway into observation, into compassion, understanding. There's I'm not sure why that is, but animals are particularly maybe not judgmental, not threatening, like they just accept you, right? And so you can accept them, maybe.
Once one goose, he was very old. He is the head of the flock, and he was sick, and the kindergarten students try to help him, try to bring him to the doctor. And the teacher asked them that how can you bring this goose to the doctor? You need to have some money. And they said that, okay, they will will have you prepare cookie for sale. And they
Right.
did that. And they did that, and they collect money. And they brought this goods to the clinic,
Mhm.
to the animal clinic. And the doctor said that don't bring the goods inside because it will, make very dirty.
Mm.
So he said that please go back and clean the goods first. You come back again. So they brought him back and washed the goods,
Wow.
and then they took the big piece of cloth and carry this goods to the clinic again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the doctor just give the medicine and said that the the goose was very old, so he can't move. He just sits still and stay at the place. So he got the wound below his legs, and the children brought back the goose to the school, and they designed, like a cradle for the goose, and put two holes to let the leg of the goose just
Uh-huh.
put out, so they won't have the wound under the his foot. So this is the like a relationship between the children and the goose, and they just have the like empathetic
Yeah.
feeling to the goose, and like to take care, and like a member of their family.
Yeah. Do
And they
you
learn a lot. I think they learn a lot.
yeah.
They learn how to uh, plan the activities, and every uh, obstacles they have to face, and to solve this kind of problem along
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you feel like that such a beautiful story? It's really sweet. Do you feel like that capacity for children that children have to care,
Mhm.
to be
Mhm.
empathetic, do you think that is naturally emerging in all children? Do you think something about Roong Aroon or teaching in general can cultivate that capacity for compassion? Or do we just need to leave children alone and they have that?
I think both sides. From the children, it's naturally happen like that. They never uh, lead, like discriminate the animals.
Yes.
And at the same time, our schools just take care of these creatures, and we call this is the safe place for every creatures.
Mhm.
And that's why the teachers understand, and the teachers encourage or enhance the students to go out and to have a kind of relationship with all kinds of natural atmosphere,
Mhm.
and these animals. And some of the students, a group of three boys at about 10 years old. They come to me one time. He came to me and said that with a kind of, amazing and exciting, and try to tell this story to me, that they found the beetle, the beetle, the insect, the red one, the beetle can, if you put this kind of a beetle and have the, I cannot get this kind of vocabulary.
Okay.
The small out fungi.
Yes, yes.
And these fungi are the beetle's food, but this is the enemy of a plant.
Mm-hmm.
So they found this. It's so cold. And they were really exciting and tried to tell this story to me. This is amazing. They learn by themselves.
Yeah. Through presence and observation. And
yes.
And
so I thought, I imagined that they should have a lot of time in observing this phenomenon, much more than interested in the classroom.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it seems, at least in the children around me, increasingly at younger ages, they don't often observe with presence. They're very, we all as a society are very distracted, and we're on our phones and we are playing our video games, or the children are obsessed with their television characters and so on. And so I imagine, as we talk about what naturally emerges and how it's cultivated intentionally by the school, and you say both are true. The school must consider that as valid and critical learning, that it's not a distraction, from their studies.
Right. And we support the teachers in doing this, and try to bring the students to be in the field study all the time. We have a canal around these places, and they just rowing the boat and go to the community people nearby the Krong, nearby the canal. So they have to integrate this kind of project into their lesson plan, the lesson, to let the students study like social study or science or mathematics. And children always, investigate into some kind of intangible issue. Not only the perspective of a physical image, but they usually, like have a lot of imagine and figure out those intangible issue. Like when they travel through the community along the canals, and they saw a lot of garbage in the canal, and they asked the question that how these houses along the canal have the system of management, the or a cabbage management. Yeah. And how they communicate from the opposite side. The house is from the opposite side, how they communicate. Yeah, they ask this kind of questions.
Yes.
And the teachers should, recognize this kind of learning and have them reflect to this issue together.
Yeah.
So they learn a lot from their own interest.
That's beautiful. Do you, I'm just capturing like words and phrases from what you've said, and I have on my paper, play, imagination, reflection, community. Like these are very important to me and to all proponents of holistic education: empathy, compassion. Is there a role, and what is the role for what we would consider more traditional academics too? So maths and reading and writing. Is that central to the school, incidental, tangential? Is it integrated, as you say?
Yeah. We we arrange these our pedagogy in 4 learning areas. The first is the routine activities. We count this kind of activities as a learning area. And then the second one, the core subject: math, mathematics, language, science, social studies. And then the third one, we call the integrative learning unit. So we integrate the life experience, the phenomenon around us, or some big issue in our society, and basing on the study into the detail which may occur with the language based or mathematics based, depending on the issue. And the fourth one is we call the healthy mind and body. So we have 4 areas. We cover the core subjects, but in such a way that we train our teachers not to teach, but have to coach the students to learn by themselves, directed learning. So they have to pose like the situation happen in our life, and ask the students to analyze how this happened, and in which kind of subjects that they could recognize, and they can combine with this situation, the real situation. So it's a kind of real life based core subject.
Yes, no, that's
something
great.
like that.
We similar.
You may heard about the open approach and lesson study from Japan.
Okay, no, I haven't, but open approach.
That's very interesting. We study from Japan, and we brought our teachers there to the Japanese school in Japan, and we study this way of learning. They open a space for children to to pose some situation and to analyze it into mathematics. That's great.
Great. Yes. Yes. I think mathematics in particular for some students, for many students, becomes such an abstraction. You know, there's nothing concrete about it. And I think if we can explicitly connect mathematical thinking and reasoning and analysis with something experienced, you know, that's can be very
I guide the teachers by asking them one question, that why you have to teach mathematics, why you have to teach logarithm. Can you tell me that how this kind of subject meaningful for children?
Right.
So by this kind of questions, the teachers get back to find the answer.
Yes. Yes.
And I said that if you cannot give me the answer, the proper answer, just let the children pray. Don't have them in the class to learn.
Yeah. Right. Right. That's great. What about art and creativity, and how does that find its way into Roong Aroon?
Yeah, that's very fascinating stuff in our school. We have a very, very big art workshop. We have pottery, we have the weaving, we have wood cutting, we have painting, we have knitting, everything. It's a big house and have a large area in the school, exposed to everyone. And we urge them to set up every year art exhibition. We invite a very renowned artist to come to school and to talk to the children and to work with the children. We have like three weeks for exhibition, and the first week will be the art piece from the artist, and then the second week we will exhibit those work from teachers and parents. And the third week will be students' work. Why we have to put them at the last week? Because their work, just amazing and big thing for us. If we put them in the first week, no one will come to the second and third week.
Yes.
Yeah, every year. Oh, it's great. Really, really prosperous one. Yeah. And we have this kind of keyword, contemplative arts. We use the way of teaching arts by have a kind of inside reflection. When you work with the arts, you will be with yourself. And the teacher will notice some kind of difficulties they are facing when they work with the artwork, and ask the students that, how do you feel, and how you react with that feeling of your own. So suggest them to get back into their own feeling inside, and get in touch with that, and to accept that kind of emotion, and then let it go. So this kind of contemplative arts help a lot, especially pottery. You have to make a great effort to do pottery.
Yeah.
And the clay is not, depend on you.
Yeah.
Never. Yeah. So you have to understand the clay and yourself. Otherwise, you cannot make the pottery.
Right. And I feel like clay in particular of the different media in arts is so, in its nature, kinesthetic and tactile and engages the body in an important way.
And you touch it. You
Yes.
touch it always.
Yeah. How do you?
I will send you a photo of the art
Yes.
to you. Yeah.
Please. Yeah. No, I'd love to see. I'd love to see all or many supporting photographs and images and flyers. How you communicate to your community what you're doing. Speaking of your community, do you? Perhaps this is a uniquely American phenomenon, though I would guess maybe you see it too. Sometimes we have parents who have chosen our school, like they believe in some level on what we're doing, but they also are skeptical. They have questions about attending to a goose as legitimate education, or all the time spent in art or whatever. Do you ever have parents and families who are questioning a bit what you're up to, and how does that look?
Some of them may have this kind of response, but normally the children choose to do the artworks after the school and don't want to go back home.
Yes.
And parents have to stay and wait for a while. And when they touch this kind of atmosphere, the parents also understand something, and sometimes they expect more. They expect too much.
Yes.
But the children can manage themselves, and never let the parents come to have tension on them. And that's the way that most of the parents understand. And students have strong character from inside, very quiet and stable. They can control self-regulation. They have self-regulation. And that's make the parents very satisfied.
Yes. What else should I know? What would you like the world to know about your grand experiment in Bangkok and what you've learned, and are there lessons for other educators that you'd like to share?
Oh, at the moment, we have the big project with the government, and especially the basic education, and we are going to move or transfer from conventional curriculum, standard-based curriculum, to the competency-based curriculum. And I was one of the committee to prepare the curriculum framework, and we have Roong Aroon, like some of the lab school to this kind of big changing. But it's not easy because the political will of the Ministry of Education and also our higher minister. So they still have like to maintain the old system.
Sure.
So it's a kind of you can understand the dilemma between us. But most of the schools, they want to go beyond. So I work with a lot of schools in 8 provinces. So some 400 schools, something like that, and all around the country.
Wow.
And like 2 days ago, the Department of the Private School, the secretary, they asked me to set up workshops for private schools in the country. We have a lot of burden to work on it because we just managed like 200 directors and teachers workshop of 3 days. Wow. And move from north region to the central part, and then to eastern, and then to the south. Yeah. So next week we have to go to south, something like that. So a lot of people.
Yes.
And we found that the teachers are eager to change. Mm-hmm. They're willing to change, but they just don't know how to. And the directors also. And when we set the workshop, we are just like, accompany them. We don't teach them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So our workshop combined with a lot of activities to let them to work on it and understand, to change their mindset, especially to change their mindset, and give them some template to exercise, to work on, and reflect, have the reflection at the end of each activity.
Yeah.
So they just understand themselves and understand the school. They just have created their own school concept. Mm-hmm. They never have it really, the real one. Mm-hmm. We let them analyze their own potential, the context of the school and the communities around, and what kind of hope from the parents, something like that. And they synthesize all this kind of thing into a school concept. Yes. And they just, very proud of these ideas and have like a very clear end result. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So they're eager to change.
So, since we're onto this subject of kind of the landscape, like the other schools that are out there, and how Roong Aroon might fit into that landscape, I'm just curious. It's a bit of a tangent from our focus today, but in America, the disparity between private schools and public schools and the funding sources, and even within public education, there's a great range of capacities of financial resources available to some, particularly in cities. Urban schools really struggle for funding. And so even the beautiful ideas of art spaces and access to nature and things feel inaccessible. And at sometimes, as I speak about holistic education, they seem irrelevant to the needs of some public schools. I wonder about, in different places in the world, how that landscape might be different, or maybe that's just always the way it is with education. I wonder, as you travel to the different regions, the North and Central and South regions, or speak to private school communities, are there very different circumstances that educators are facing within Thailand?
Yes, very different from each other, and different character, different culture,
Yeah.
and different language also. So, but however, we didn't, raise the words of holistic, but we have to start from their own nature, their own interest, their own anxiety, their whatever they were. And this kind of get into their mind. Everyone, like human beings, love to be recognized, and to be understand the relationship to each other. And I found that the conventional style of the school, the director and the teachers never work in a team. That's the big difficulties. So I just mentioned this, to our team, that we have to find some kind of mechanism or interventions to let them understand how more profitable to work in a team, and you will be happy. So we designed this kind of activity in a small group. When we have participants in a workshop, like 130 people, we break out into the different small groups, and they can discuss together. It's very different from previous atmosphere in their school. They never have a group of discussion. The director just, the principal of the school is very high, and have the role of regulator, and never work side by side with the teachers. So when they touch this kind of working together in a team, it's just like open up their mind.
I think in education, so much of the work, and maybe particularly for the teacher, despite the fact that they're surrounded by people, children, it can feel very isolating. You do feel like you're on your own figuring this out. And I think the collaborative potential of educators together, and certainly for the bureaucrats, for the managers and administrators, they must talk to teachers and see the reality as they're setting policy and different. Do you recall in Prague the activity we did that they called World Cafe, and there were different tables, and we rotated, and you wrote on the paper, and that, I thought that was lovely.
I use that method also.
Yes.
Sometimes,
It's great. We're close to the end of our time. I'm wondering, as you reflect back on the school, now back to Roong Aroon and its founding, and as you maybe come for a visit next week or whatever, and you see the hum of what you have helped to create, your sense of pride, your sense of accomplishment, what are you proudest of? What makes you feel, what makes you smile?
Oh, our students.
Yeah.
That makes me smile.
Yeah.
Why smile? Uh, at the moment that I step into the school, the especially the young students, they love to come to me,
Yeah.
circle around me, and trying to have a conversation with me. Sometimes a question, sometimes have a story to tell me. They like to start the conversation with me. Even though they have a small, vocabulary or limited of their language, but they try, and and they try to find the kindergarten. One of the kindergarten kids, she asked her teacher that why Ajahn Prapapat think very big like this. Question. And sometimes they come to me and ask me that between you and your assistant, which one has more power?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That make me smile.
Yes. Yeah, the innocence, and the lack of inhibition, and just yeah.
Like
Beautiful.
and our teacher also, they are so nice, and they dedicate a lot to their work, and I adore them. For they grow like this, and we rarely find this type of teachers in another school, in other schools.
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of them.
Most of your teachers are trained at Arsom Silp, are trained
Yes.
internally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They've got the certificate.
Yeah.
They mostly I recruit them. Then most of them don't have the education background.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's strange. Yeah.
Well,
Because
yeah.
The graduate, the one from the education practice, I think they have a limited imagination about life, and many things allow them.
Yes. No, agreed. I think, in America, our system of teacher education is very much focused on managing children, their behavior, controlling their impulses, and
Class
delivering.
management.
Yes, class management, and delivering content, delivering curriculum efficiently. And it is not educating our teachers to listen, to be present, to be kind. They're important things are
So
missing.
I recruit the one who graduated mathematics, social study, many different background. And I got, even engineering, architect, every kind of background, and train them to be, a unique teacher, to be a unique teacher.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to spend a bit of time with you and just to celebrate your achievements and at Roong Aroon.
Thank you so much, Paul. It's lovely to talk with you. And I hope that we can get in touch each other in the near future.
Yes. Thank you. So I'm going to take off my hat as editor of the journal, put on my hat as a student myself, and I can even stop recording so it's clear.